This May, journey through spectacular mountain scenery and picturesque cities as you experience 3 alpine countries with our very own Travel Bug Girls Guide Kara and local experts. This enchanting 10-day journey across Switzerland, Austria, and Bavaria will leave you breathless with wonder and eager to return. To learn more, visit our website at travelbuggirls.com/Europe. That's travelbuggirls.com/Europe. Welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast, the show where we dive into the world of travel, exploring everything from expert tips and insider secrets to unforgettable destinations and the latest trends. Whether you're a seasoned globetrotter or planning your very first adventure, we've got you covered with the advice and inspiration you need to make your travels truly unforgettable. So sit back, relax, and let's take your travel planning to the next level. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Travel Bug Girls podcast. I'm Kimmy here with Heather today. She is finally back with us after all her international adventures. So excited. And she is going to tell us about her recent trip to Thailand, which if you're following on our social media, you might have seen a few clips and it looks amazing. So I'm excited to kind of get to talk to you today, and then I'm sure we'll be posting a lot more videos and information on our social media as well about Thailand. So everybody make sure to be following us over there. We're on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the things. So yeah. So welcome back, first of all.
It's been a busy year already. I am finally home for a hot minute.
I feel like I really have not seen you hardly at all this whole year. So welcome back.
Thanks. It's been a good adventure.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. I mean, this was like your first time in Thailand, really kind of on that side of the world. Am I right in that direction?
Yes. I had done a long airport layover in Shanghai where we were there long enough to like leave and go have lunch in Shanghai. And that was it. That's the most I've been in Asia. So this was a huge departure from my typical European travel. So I usually pretty much stay in the Caribbean or the European Union. And so this is a big adventure for sure.
So what kind of like prompted Thailand for you?
Yeah, we have friends that live there and they've been there 13 years. And they've invited us many, many times to come visit them. And we just haven't been able to link up our schedules and timing. And all of this has been a real problem for the last few years. And so this year we happen to have some available time on our schedule at the same time they did. And we happened to grab really great prices on airline tickets during the American government shutdown back in the fall. There was a real dip in flight prices. And so that's when I snagged my flights to France and to Thailand during that little window of time. So we were able to afford to go, and so exciting to go see our friends and get a real locals perspective of Bangkok and hear their view of what it's like to be in Thailand.
Very cool. So being that it was your first time, like what were some of your concerns about going?
Yes, I have to admit, I was really nervous about this trip. I think I had some preconceived ideas about travel challenges in Asia, and mostly it was about my own level of comfort. So hopefully I won't be crucified in the comments on this, but maybe other people will feel like they feel the same way, and I won't be the only one. But I was very concerned with feeling confident and safe in the city. I'm really not a big city traveler in general, and Bangkok is a massive international city. So, I feel nervous being in New York City. I'm really not great with big cities in general. So So that was a big concern because we were going to spend 10 days in Bangkok. So I was very concerned about how I was going to handle just everything that comes to the big city: transportation, crowds, noise, chaos, the mess. Sometimes it's in the corners of a big city. Like, all of that just really stresses me out. And I was worried that I wouldn't have a great attitude about it. And I like to be a very cheerful, optimistic, encouraging traveler person in general, but especially when I'm traveling. And so I was just concerned about it. The other thing was the food. I love traveling in Europe because the food is a big part of the adventure for me. I'm a serious foodie. I love gourmet food. I love trying new things. In Europe, I was worried that would not translate to Asia. I don't love seafood, and I haven't had a lot of experience eating Asian food in general. And so I was very nervous that I wouldn't enjoy it, that would be then embarrassing and awkward to be with friends, especially. And they're very excited to be showing us all the things they love about their city. And then for me to be like, I guess I can eat rice, And also, I have a medical condition that makes it really difficult. So a lot of walking. I'm very careful with what I eat. So I was very concerned that this would just be difficult for me as a trip. So I had more concerns than I normally do when I travel. And luckily, it all worked out beautifully, and none of those came to fruition. The city is a massive city. It is loud and busy and dynamic in every way. And sure, there are all the hard things about a big city were there too. We saw the places that were dirty and messy. We saw homelessness. We saw poverty. We saw those things, but there was also so much beauty. What's interesting to me about Bangkok is the layers. It's really all mixed together. It's almost felt like zoning doesn't exist. I mean, you would have the mess with the beauty all together. So maybe a very poor community, and then you look down an alleyway and there's a mansion. You'd be walking down a dirty street that's a little sketchy from an American point of view, and then look into a courtyard and see a beautiful garden. So it's all together. It's all layered together. And sometimes that can be disconcerting, but for me, it really added to the adventure of it, because you learn very quickly to be aware, to be looking for the unexpected, to be expecting the beauty around the corner and in between and underneath and behind, and to be looking for it and anticipating the unexpected in a good way and in the beauty inside of everything. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It felt like the city is like an intricate puzzle, and I really enjoyed those layers and depth of it all.
That sounds amazing. I think your concerns that you had about, just kind of going the food, all the things that you said about your concerns, I think are very relatable. I think anybody who has never, any American that's never traveled to Asia, probably has those same kind of concerns. I feel like we think of Europe as it's different, but it's not that different. Whereas you're saying Asia, the food is very different. There's still culture is very different than what, we as Americans might be quote used to. So I feel like that is very relatable for anybody that would be going for their first time. So I love hearing also that none of those fears, really ended up being any kind of issue for you. So
yeah,
that's encouraging.
I do feel like if I had been there alone, I would have felt differently about it. I will say that. And that does not mean now that we were there a good long time. So I have a lot of thoughts about women traveling in Bangkok. And I can share those later. But the main thing for me was our friends were able to really help me see from a different perspective, because like I said, the street that our hotel was off of, for example, in my hometown, it would have felt like a very scary street. I would not have wanted to walk down that street alone, certainly not at night. I would not have felt safe there. And then you add to it, you're the foreigner. You obviously look different, sound different, are acting different. I was dressed different. Like I did not blend in at all. So when I'm walking down the street, everyone is turning to look at me. We were not staying in an area of town that has a lot of tourists. And so there were places like that. There were places we were that we were tourists, obviously, but so was everyone else around us. Like, so it was like more of an accepted, normal situation. We were in somebody's neighborhood, essentially like the back streets of Bangkok, right? And so we didn't fit in. And everyone there clearly knew each other and was used to seeing each other and interacting with each other. And then here we would come walking down the street and they would all stop and look at us, you know? So that can be extremely intimidating. But our friends that live there were able to help us see, like, yes, they're curious. Yes, you stand out, but they're happy to see you. And they're happy for you to come and stop and order food from them and pick up coffee at the coffee shop. And it was very, very true that by the third day, all those people had our orders memorized. They were welcoming us. They were smiling and waving when they saw us. And so I'm grateful for those opportunities to kind of go beyond what would be a normal tourist interaction in the city and really see what it's like to live there. We found ourselves going, we could do this, we could live here, and really thinking through what it takes to be someone who moves to a country like that and lives there, and what would be great about it, and what would be challenging about it. And so I just really appreciated that we had that opportunity. And so, yeah, by like the third night, I was not afraid to walk in the middle of to get off the train late at night after having a full day of touring, and then walk down the street and know that people are watching me, but also that those same people would probably speak up for me if something was going wrong, you know? And so I really had a wonderful time there. And I think it's neat when you get to have those opportunities to change your viewpoint and look beyond the surface expectations.
Yeah. So did you book like where you stayed with that intention, as far as like not booking in the tourist areas, or was it because of where your friends were that you were visiting?
Yes, we happened to stay there because our friends lived down the street. We could walk from our Airbnb. It wasn't really an Airbnb, but that's the closest thing I can relate it to. It was like a bed and breakfast, I guess. But anyway, we could walk from there to their house and meet up with them easily that way. And then the train station was just like one block off of that street. So it was very convenient for us to get around, and we could take the major train line into the city and get around that way. So I absolutely would recommend an experience like that for someone who is looking to see a different view of the city. And what we did personally was we blended this kind of like off the beaten path travel with the traditional tourism and did both. We were there long enough that we could do both. So we saw some of the big famous sites, but we also spent lots of time in the community and enjoying like the local restaurant down the street and things like that. So we just happen to get lucky that way. I do think that for the average woman who's traveling, especially if you're going alone, solo travelers, or like, let's say if Kimmy, you and I went, just the two of us, to Bangkok, I would probably not recommend we stay there. I would probably recommend you stay somewhere more city center. And city center in Bangkok, it could be a lot of options. There's like how do you even find a center when it's a massive city? But somewhere that's in one of those more established tourist areas, it's going to give you, I think, more confidence to enjoy this city. And one of the things I really loved was noticing that some of the really grand hotels, the really big established hotels along the river in particular, they had their own ferry boats. They had their own boats, like with the hotel's name on it, parked right at the river's edge so that you could come out in the morning, get on their ferry and go see the other parts of the city. And I thought that was a really neat feature. Water travel is a huge part of visiting Bangkok. And we took the train many times, but also taking a ferry or some other version of a boat. There's like many options to get back and forth across the river and into the canals to see other sites. That is a real major part of tourism. So if you could afford to stay somewhere that has all the features of a really nice hotel plus that element, I feel like that would be a real benefit.
I don't know, admittedly don't know a lot about Bangkok, so I didn't even know that like the water travel was a thing, a way to get around there. So interesting. Good to know. So what were some of your favorite things about, that happened that you did in your trip or saw, or what were your highlights? I'm sure there's probably a million, but
it is hard to narrow it down. We got to do a lot on this trip, more than maybe the average person would do. And we still had things left. Actually, we acquired new things that went on our wish list. So that
how long were y'all actually there?
We were gone a full 2 weeks. We were 10 days in Bangkok and 4 days in Krabi, which is in the south. It's more of a beach resort area. So
how long was your travel like to get there?
It's one very, very long day.
Yeah.
So we went down from we live in Wichita Falls, Texas. We went down to Dallas the night before and stayed the night and left our car there with family. And so we actually started the day before with our travel. So we added some extra time, but our flight didn't leave till night. So we could have, for example, finished a work day and then driven down to DFW and got on a plane and gone same day. We just happened to do it differently because we were leaving our dog with my aunt and our car and just trying to manage a lot of that stuff. So the flight is very long. So from DFW, for example, it was a 16-hour flight to Hong Kong. We flew first to Hong Kong direct. And then from Hong Kong, it's like another 3 hours or a little less than 3 hours to Bangkok. And that was the fastest we could figure out how to get there. So the first flight is rough, guys. I'm not going to lie. Like a 16-hour flight is rough. Basically, if you're going to Asia or Australia, New Zealand, anywhere like that, you're going to be struggling with one of these long haul flights. And there's just not an easy way around that. So I would say that's the biggest thing to plan for. And honestly, out of everything we did, that was the most stressful and unhappy part of our travel was our flight. Everything else was great. We loved everything about this trip. You asked about our highlights. Some of our highlights on the trip were Thai massage. Thai massage is a unique style of massage, and I highly recommend it that you at least try it in Thailand at a reputable place. Even if you're like the kind of person who always wishes you could enjoy a massage, but you don't like the idea of being like naked or any of that. Like if that is the part that stresses you out, our favorite thing about it was we showed up at the spa and they gave us a set of pajamas, like these really soft pajamas that you put on, and then you lay on a bed. And so there's never a point where you're just laying there naked in front of somebody. Like it's not under a thin sheet or something. That is not a part of it. So traditional Thai massage is different in that they're not just standing above you and like kneading your muscles. That's like Swedish massage. Instead, they might do some of that, but there's a lot more like the brushing, like lymphatic drainage. They might kind of be above you and put their elbows or even their feet up into like your knees or your elbows, and they're pushing and stretching you in a way to help loosen your muscles. And so it's more of like I don't know, like there were moments where it felt more like a wrestling match than a massage. But and I was willingly losing. I'm just like laying there like a limp rag doll while they're stretching and bending and moving everything. But for me, I mean, I felt like it was life-changing. I came out of that and I said, I need this in my life. Like I wish I could have that experience every week because I feel like it would help my health. I have a lot of issues with fluid retention and everything. And like, what an incredible experience. But the best part was the price. We could spend a 2-hour Thai massage in a very nice upscale spa for $20 US.
Wow.
I know. 2 hours of like luxury bliss for $20. So that's amazing.
That's amazing.
Amazing. I'm definitely putting some videos up. I didn't take videos of getting the massage, but I did of like the spa and how pretty it was. So I'll be sharing that on our social media. But like, what a fabulous experience. So we came out of that and we're like, this feels life-changing. So we immediately booked another. So we were there long enough. We had 3 while we were there. And it was just such a great experience. So that was a highlight. The other thing for me is I was really looking to visit Michelin star restaurants. There are many, many, many restaurants in Bangkok that are recommended by Michelin, and the prices and experiences range vastly. They have a ton of not only do they have the sit-down restaurants that we think of as like going to a Michelin star restaurant, like a high-end, a luxury sit-down restaurant, but they also have restaurants that are listed that are stands, essentially. Like in America, we might say like a food truck. These open market stands are very, very, very common in Asian culture, but especially in Thailand, like going to the night market to get dinner is an experience. It's very normal. And so they have families that have been doing this and perfected certain dishes. And you might walk up and they only sell one dish and they just do it really well. And that's all they sell is one dish. And so you buy that and then you go to the next stall and you get something else. And so there are some that have been recognized by Michelin to be like the best of the best. And that's really a unique experience. So, for example, there's one that's really well known for their mango and sticky rice. And so people will wait in line for the mango and sticky rice from this particular stall because they've been recommended worldwide. So we had an opportunity to go to a restaurant that was in Chinatown that is really well known for their roasted duck. And so we had a wonderful sit down dinner there. And we also went to, this is so weird, I went to Bangkok for this, but in Bangkok, there is a beautiful Michelin star restaurant on the 76th floor of this iconic tower that overlooks Bangkok. They have full glass windows all the way around. It's the most beautiful restaurant I've ever been in, probably. And it's a Mexican restaurant, like high-end Mexican food. It was so amazing. What a great experience that was. The views were beautiful. The food was amazing. It was just fabulous in every way. And the chef is really making a name for himself there. So we had the best time. That was like our real big splurge, was the day we went to the Mexican restaurant in Bangkok, Thailand. But it was a beautiful experience. Yeah. And so we stayed there. We stayed as long as they would let us. Basically, they had to kick us out of the restaurant. And so that was really fun. But one of my favorite things was we went and did a Thai cooking class. And the 4 of us went, and they started by taking us to the market and teaching us about the different products we were going to use and introducing us to the vendors in the marketplace that sold them. And some of them were giving us things to taste and sample as we were walking down the street. And that was just such a great experience. So we bought the products and then went back to the cooking school and worked together to make the dishes. We made 5 different Thai dishes, and it was literally like make a dish and then sit and eat together and enjoy it and then start over. And she was teaching us about the different elements of Thai cooking. It was just such a fabulous experience. I highly, highly recommend it. And we can share the links to that too. It's really easy to book that cooking school, but what a great way to get to know know. And I think it would be fun to do that early in your trip so that you're introduced to Thai cooking and Thai cuisine early on. So then when you're in a restaurant, you know something to order, you can recognize some of those flavors and maybe make it a little easier for you to enjoy the food too. So
how did you find the cooking class? Did you find it online, like through?
I did. I use our systems that we use as travel agents. And I found several different, there's some really incredible food tours and cooking schools there in Bangkok. But there are also many, many, many other tours you can participate in. One of the other tours we booked was a canal boat tour. It was a longboat, like a traditional longboat there. And it was called Hidden Bangkok Tours. And we really felt hidden, like we had to go to this back street hidden place in town. It took us forever to find it. And like we're walking down the street, like, I don't know if we're in the right place. And this old man walks by and goes, that way. Like that. And so it was really, really hidden in the back streets, but it was because this neighborhood backs up to one of the old canals off the river. And this community had always been what they called themselves boating people, that they had lived on the river for generations and they all had boats and they passed down their boats to the next generation and teach them how to get around. And so we were able to see that side of the city that you couldn't see from the road. You couldn't see it from the train. And it was a really neat experience. And we went to a floating market and she talked a lot about the culture and the history and like what Bangkok was like before roads and streets and train systems had kind of taken over and skyscrapers and all of that. And so that was such a special experience. So there are so many, many things like that though that you can do in Bangkok that, I mean, you really have to pick and choose what you have time for and what fits in your budget because there's just too many fun things to do in the city.
What about, well, first, did you have any other highlights from Bangkok? If not, I want to hear about your highlights from Krabi.
Oh, yes, Krabi. Yes. I guess the one other thing I want to say about Bangkok was we also did a day trip and went out to this very famous floating market. And it wasn't quite what I was expecting. I was picturing, I had seen a photo, I think, of like the boats that are filled with products and the boats are going around selling the products. And I think that was kind of how things were done in the past. But this particular market had evolved from that into a place where there were buildings all up against the water and little bridges that connected them. And you're walking on essentially a covered pier and every little building has something they're selling. So some of them were like full sit down restaurants. And some were just like a little stand with spices or handmade clothing or purses or something, you know. And so we spent the whole day going through all those little shops and trying different things. And then people were really sweet and interesting. And I felt like it was such an immersive experience to see not only a very different cultural setting than what we're used to. I mean, shopping does not look like that where I live. And so that was really fun. It was an adventure, but also to see the different kinds of products that people are making and to meet people that are intimately involved in that process. Like I just always enjoy that. I mean, that's what I love about being in Europe is when you get to meet the person who made the thing, who grew the olives and they're telling you passionately about the olive oil, right? Or who is managing the vineyard and they're telling you about the family history and then you're tasting the wine. Like those are the experiences that I love most. And Thailand was full of those opportunities. So it just looks a little different. And what a fun way though to learn about a culture, I think. So that was another thing I really enjoyed was the floating market that we visited outside of Bangkok. So then when we went to Krabi, we had to take a plane. Well, we didn't have to, but it's like a 12-hour drive. So we flew. And most Americans don't go to Krabi. Most Americans, if you're going to Thailand for like a beach vacation, maybe you've seen TikTok videos or something, then you're probably going to Phuket. Phuket is extremely popular, well-known, probably more affordable in some ways, just in that it's advertised heavily. It's very, very, very much pushed towards the American market. And so we're more likely to visit Phuket. However, our friends had already been to Phuket several times, and they were like, we'd really like to see somewhere we've never been before. And we're like, well, we haven't been to any of it, so let's go somewhere you've never been before, you know? And so we narrowed it down to a few options and found the best pricing in Krabi. And so I really kind of went into it not really understanding how lucky we were to choose the place. Like, usually I'm extremely intentional, but I had been planning to go to Phuket, and then to have to suddenly change and go to a place I wasn't planning to, I didn't spend as much time really researching it, and I was less familiar with it. That is no longer the case. Now, I can tell you that I would 100% recommend exactly where we went. I feel like we got kind of accidentally lucky, because Krabi, the area that was extremely popular, was like 10 minutes down the road from where we stayed. We were on the quieter end of a very big beach with like many, many resorts all the way down the beach, right? We were on the quieter end. And you could see as we were coming in, we went through this town and there were restaurants and giant hotels and resorts and buses going everywhere. And our map was like, you still have 10 minutes to go. We're like, oh, okay, well, I guess we won't be in town. And we go out into the jungle, essentially. And then we come up this hill, and then there's like 3 resorts right together. And then that's like the end. Like, after that, it goes up into the jungle, and it's like dark that night. And so I'm like, okay, I think we met like the end of the line, basically. But so beautiful, like breathtakingly beautiful. The mountains rise up behind it. There's jungle all behind the resort, and then the resort is facing the ocean, and the mountains are like fingers of rock coming up out of the ground. That's what it's like in the islands too. The islands are these fingers of rock that are sticking up out of the water with like jungle on top, and you're just seeing like cliff faces with jungle. And it was just so otherworldly, like so unlike anything we have in the Caribbean. I mean, the closest thing I can think of is like St. Lucia with Jade Mountain Resort, right? Like all of that. It's the closest thing I can think of to anything. And even that's not really what it looks like. So absolutely gorgeous. The sun was setting as we arrived, everything in silhouette with everything just pink and purple and blue behind it. It was just so, so beautiful. And the resort is gorgeous, but quiet. We thought like maybe there's nobody here. It was so quiet. And the next morning at breakfast, obviously, like we're seeing, there's lots of people here. It was a lot of French families that were on vacation for school break. And they were choosing to spend their winter break in the tropics, essentially. And so we saw many, many, many French families. There were also several Russian families there with their children. And what a beautiful place it is there. It was restful and quiet. They had 2 pools, the pristine beach. You could go paddleboarding, you could go kayaking, you could lay around by the pool all day. But the other option was to rent a boat and let the local boatmen take you across the water to one of the islands. And they have these national parks that were established to protect the coral reefs that were out there in the islands. And I know we had no idea. We like accidentally found this heavenly place. And it turns out those islands that look like just cliffs with jungle on top, once we got up close to them, we realized that they're shaped more like this. And so we were just seeing the cliff face, but the boat, as it approached, we could see there's an opening and there were these hidden lagoons, and you'd go in the lagoon and it would just be like waist high water, sandy beach, and then coral reef in the center. So we snorkeled and they saw hundreds of different tropical fish. And it was just the most fabulous, magical thing you've ever seen in your life. I can't think of anything like it that I've seen in the Caribbean, actually. It's just so different and beautiful and affordable. We paid $150 and took 8 people out for the whole day. The boat driver was like, I'm yours for the day, however long you want to stay. And we were all exhausted and ready to go back. He was like, are you sure? Like, you have me for like 4 more hours at least. I mean, we just couldn't even believe that we could afford to do that for an entire day. It was amazing. So the best part of traveling in Thailand is the affordability, I think, honestly.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Travel Bug Girls podcast. Be sure to subscribe to get our new episodes every week. We'd love to connect with you on social media. Share your answer to this week's podcast question with us at facebook.com/travelbuggirls. You can find us on your favorite social media by using @travelbuggirls. Want to join our VIP group? You'll find us on Facebook groups under TBG Travel Bugs. Learn more about the Travel Bug Girls and what we do on our website at travelbuggirls.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep dreaming, and safe travels. Ready for that summer girls trip you've always wanted? Join us this July for a dreamy summer escape to Mexico's Riviera Maya and the Bahamas from beautiful Miami. 5 nights on Virgin Voyage's Resilient Lady in a sea terrace room with balcony and hammock. This cruise is adults only and designed for the perfect escape. Spend the day in the spa, lounge by the pool, or dance the night away with friends. Don't let another summer go by without an epic vacation. For more information, visit travelbuggirls.com and click the Girls Trip tab. That's travelbuggirls.com.